All right, so you've decided to use ArangoDB for your next project.
Smart move.
It's a multi-model database.
That's right.
And it can work with documents, key value pairs, and graph data all in one place.
Yeah, a real powerhouse.
But now you need to build a team. And finding developers with ArangoDB experience can be a challenge.
For sure.
It's a pretty niche skill set.
Definitely is.
So in this deep dive, we're going to unpack how to find and hire
Sounds good.
amazing ArangoDB developers.
Yeah, let's do it.
ArangoDB is not just another database.
Right.
It's really unique.
Absolutely.
It's multi-model, which means it can handle document data, key value data, and graph data all in one place.
Yeah, all in one place.
Then why does this matter?
Good question.
Well, it gives you amazing flexibility and power when you're building applications.
That's right.
Especially if you're building something really dynamic.
Exactly.
So if you want to make sure you're asking all the right questions to find the perfect ArangoDB developer for your team,
I like it.
head over to theperfectdeveloper.com.
Good resource.
And check out their 5 questions tool.
Oh, yeah, that's a great tool.
It's like a cheat sheet
Nice.
for hiring success.
I love it.
Okay, so we know ArangoDB is powerful,
Yeah.
but what kinds of things does an ArangoDB developer actually do?
So an ArangoDB developer is responsible for a lot of different things. One of the most important things is database design.
Okay, so they're not just coding.
No.
They're actually designing the structure of the database.
Exactly. They have to figure out how the data is going to be organized.
Okay.
And that's where things get interesting with ArangoDB.
Yeah, because it's multi-model.
Right.
They have to choose the best model for the job.
Exactly.
So is it going to be a document? Is it going to be key value?
Right.
Or is it going to be a graph?
And they have to know the strengths and weaknesses of each model and when to use which.
Got it. So it's a lot of responsibility.
It is.
They're making really strategic decisions.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
About how the data is structured.
Absolutely.
So beyond database design, what else do these developers do?
Well, they also have to know how to work with AQL.
AQL.
Yeah, that's the ArangoDB query language.
Okay.
And it's a really cool language.
What's so cool about it?
It's designed to work with all 3 data models.
Oh, wow. So it's really versatile.
Yeah, very versatile.
Okay.
But it also has some really cool features.
Like what?
That are specific to graph databases.
Okay, so if you're building a social network.
Yeah, great example.
You could use AQL to easily find things like friends of friends.
Exactly.
Which would be super helpful for things like recommendations or network analysis.
Yeah, and trying to do that in a traditional SQL database would be way more complex.
So finding a good ArangoDB developer sounds like it can be tough.
It definitely can be.
They need this unique blend of skills. Database design, query optimization. And they have to know how to use those graph features.
Absolutely.
So they need to have a deep understanding of how to leverage all that stuff.
It's a lot.
It is.
Yeah.
What about performance tuning?
Oh, that's another big one.
Okay.
Performance is always a concern with any database.
Especially when you're dealing with large-scale systems.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So is it a big concern with ArangoDB?
I mean, it can be.
Okay.
But the good news is ArangoDB is built for performance.
Okay, so it can handle a lot of data.
Tons of data.
And a lot of queries.
Yeah.
Without breaking a sweat?
That's the idea.
But a skilled developer will know how to optimize the database.
For sure.
To make sure it's as fast and efficient as possible.
Exactly.
They'll use techniques like indexing and caching.
Right. All the good stuff.
Okay. So we've talked about what these developers do.
Yeah.
We know they're a rare breed.
They are.
Now let's talk money.
Okay.
With such a specialized skill set, I imagine they don't come cheap.
You got that right.
What's the salary range I should be prepared for?
Well, in the U.S., you're probably looking at somewhere between $90,000 to $160,000 per year.
Wow. That's a pretty wide range.
It is.
What factors influence where someone falls on that spectrum?
A lot of things.
Like what?
Well, experience is a big one, of course.
Yeah, makes sense.
A junior developer in a smaller city might be closer to that $90,000 mark.
Okay.
But a senior developer with years of experience in a place like San Francisco, they could easily be making over $150,000.
So location plays a role too.
Oh, definitely.
Makes sense. Cost of living and all that.
Right. And I'm guessing company size also matters.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Bigger companies.
Yeah.
Deeper pockets.
Exactly.
They can afford to pay more. But they also often have
more rigorous hiring processes.
Very true.
Now, you mentioned global talent earlier.
I did.
Is that a viable option?
It can be.
Okay.
Especially if you're looking to manage costs. There are talented ArangoDB developers all over the world.
So I could hire someone remotely.
Exactly.
Okay, but there are some challenges with that, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Time zones, communication, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
So that's where a service like theperfectdeveloper.com can be really valuable.
Oh, yeah, they're great.
They have a global network of vetted developers. And they can help you navigate all those complexities.
Exactly. They take a lot of the guesswork out of it.
Okay, so there are definitely trade-offs to consider.
Absolutely.
It's all about finding the right balance.
For sure.
For your needs and your budget.
Exactly.
So we've talked about salary.
Yeah.
But what about the hiring model?
Okay.
Should I be looking for someone full-time? Part-time? Or maybe a contractor?
Good question.
What are the pros and cons of each?
Well, it really depends on your specific needs.
All right, so let's start with full-time.
Okay.
When does it make sense to hire a full-time ArangoDB developer?
I would say full-time is best when you have a long-term project.
Got it.
Where ArangoDB is really at the core of what you're building.
Okay, so if ArangoDB is mission critical, you probably want someone dedicated full-time.
Yeah, you want someone who's really invested in the project.
Right, so they can really dig in and become an expert.
And they can really get to know your systems.
Okay, so full-time for the big complex projects.
Makes sense.
What about part-time?
Part-time can be good if you have more specific needs.
Like what?
Maybe you need help with performance optimization, or you're building a smaller feature that uses ArangoDB's graph capabilities.
So for something more specialized, that doesn't require a full-time commitment. A part-time developer could be a good fit.
It could be.
But of course, there are some potential downsides,
right? Yeah, there always are.
Like what?
Well, availability is a big one.
Right. You might not have them when you need them.
Exactly.
Okay, so part-time for those more niche tasks.
Makes sense.
What about contractors?
Contractors can be great for short-term projects.
Got it.
Or when you need a really specific skill set.
Like for a one-off project?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Maybe you need to migrate some data into ArangoDB. Or you need someone to build a proof of concept.
So you bring in a contractor.
Right.
They do the job. And then they move on.
Exactly.
Okay, but there are some potential risks with contractors too, right?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Communication challenges.
Big one.
Commitment issues, that kind of thing.
You got it.
So how do you mitigate those risks?
Well, that's where a service like theperfectdeveloper.com can be really helpful.
In what way?
Well, they vet their developers really carefully.
Okay, so they make sure they're not just technically skilled, but they're also good communicators, reliable, and they can work effectively in a remote setting.
Exactly.
So they're taking a lot of the guesswork out of it.
Absolutely.
Whether I'm hiring full-time, part-time, or contract.
They got you covered.
That's true. It's easy to get overwhelmed and think you have to do everything yourself.
Especially with hiring.
But when you're dealing with something as specialized as ArangoDB, it makes so much sense to get some help.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Why reinvent the wheel?
Exactly.
Services like theperfectdeveloper.com, they've already done the hard work.
They have.
They've built a network of vetted developers. They understand the ArangoDB landscape.
They do.
So why not leverage their expertise?
Makes sense to me.
Speaking of expertise, you mentioned a 5 questions tool earlier.
I did.
What is that exactly?
So this is a tool that was developed by theperfectdeveloper.com to help you ask the right questions.
During the interview process.
Exactly.
Sounds like a cheat sheet.
Kinda.
But for interviewing ArangoDB developers.
That's the idea.
So it helps me dig into their experience with ArangoDB.
And it goes beyond the basics.
Okay, so it's not just about checking off boxes on a resume.
No, no, no.
It's about really understanding their capabilities.
Absolutely. You want to get a sense of how they think.
And how they approach problems.
Exactly.
Because hiring the wrong developer can be a costly mistake.
Big time.
So a tool like this can help you avoid those pitfalls.
And make a more informed decision.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's recap.
Okay.
For our listeners out there
who
are ready to start building their ArangoDB dream team.
Sounds good.
Finding a skilled ArangoDB developer requires a strategic approach. You need to think about the challenges, the salary range,
the hiring model,
and of course the all-important cultural fit.
You got it.
It's a multifaceted process.
It is.
But with the right resources.
For sure.
And a little bit of guidance.
A little bit.
you can find the perfect developer
Absolutely.
to bring your ArangoDB project to life.
That's the goal.
And don't forget about soft skills.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
Communication, problem solving, adaptability.
Oh, this is important.
Those are just as important.
I would say even more important.
Wow, really?
Yeah, in my experience.
Interesting.
Because you can teach someone a technology, but you can't teach them how to be a good communicator.
That's a good point.
Or how to work effectively on a team.
All right, so if you're ready to start building your ArangoDB dream team, head over to theperfectdeveloper.com.
Great place to start.
They have a ton of resources.
They do.
To help you navigate the hiring process, including that 5 questions tool.
Don't forget about that.
So you better try.
Yeah, check it out.
It could be the key.
It could be.
To unlocking your hiring success.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
For this deep dive into the world of hiring ArangoDB developers.
It's been fun.
We hope you found it helpful.
I hope so too.
Until next time.
See you later.